Hey everybody, this is Island Fight CEO Dean Toole, and I am locked in.
I'm Michael Davis, and I'm locked in.
And we are locked in, myself, Max Van Auken, my cousin, Dave the Wave. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, cousin. How you doing, my man?
Doing great. So much NFL to talk about. Our locked-in picks are always on the money. There's NBA, there's college basketball. I'm ready to get locked in.
Wow, I cannot wait. First of all, cousin, I got to get your first gut reaction. Alabama, Clemson. Clemson's the national champion. What was your first take out of that game?
Wow. That was my first take, was wow.
I'm starting off hot, cousin. We ain't messing around. We're locked in.
Yeah, I was just blown away. I was blown away by Clemson's quarterback. I was blown away with how comfortable they looked, with how poised and mature they looked, and they just made it look easy. They dominated Alabama, and it's just interesting. It was a great game.
It really was. I thought Bama was going to win. Not going to lie about it. I thought Clemson had a shot. I thought they would play them tough, and if they would win a 3-point game, a 4-point game, I did not see them just smoking right through Alabama. Offense, defense, their wide receivers were amazing. The quarterback is just on the next level, best freshman quarterback I've seen in college football. Man, Clemson looked locked in.
Okay, so I want to start this off with an interesting fact, Dave.
Okay.
All right, so I heard this. So the Browns just hired the new coach, Freddie Kitchens, right? Kitchens, right?
Yes, he does like to eat in the kitchen, if you see this man.
So, and I heard this. I'm like, wow, I got to tell Dave this. And I'm sure you may have heard it as well. So the franchises are 0-10 on re-signing the coach when they hire the coach from within the franchise. 0-10 in the last 10 coaches. So if that gives you any type of evidence, any type of assumptions, I would assume, based on the Cleveland Browns' history, on top of the 0-10 history, this probably may not work out with Baker Mayfield. Well, not necessarily Baker Mayfield, but Freddie Kitchens and the Browns. What was your take on the hiring?
Wait, you're telling me that the Cleveland Browns and something that they did and hired might not work out? That's a Travis Sham mockery, Max. I would never think of something like that.
On top, like even if it was 10-0, like, oh my God, it always works. 10-0 from hiring within, you'd still be like, probably not with the Browns. But the fact that the history is 0-10, come on now.
I know it's crazy. For one, just that fact, 0-10, it's just not great to hire within. It just isn't. If that guy was the man and he was the head coach, he should have been the head coach. So why was he not even the offensive coordinator to start the season? So literally 5 months later, he's the franchise. You're like, oh yeah, this guy, he's the quarterback's coach. He likes to eat. That's what I know about him. And then 5 months later, you make him the face of the franchise, and his last name's Kitchens? Come on. This is just – it's so funny to me. Cleveland, I'm not saying they had to hire the most expensive guy, the oldest guy, the youngest guy, the most upside guy. To me, what Cleveland should have done, because of they are the Cleveland Browns and they've got this 12-year straight just, laughable history of their franchise, they should have just hired the most sturdiest guy, the most level grounded guy. And to me, that's Coach Mike McCarthy, the ex-Packer head coach. That was, to me, the right hire for them. They didn't go that way, but they are called the Cleveland Browns for a reason.
Yeah, I agree with you. You need somebody who's experienced, who's poised in a stressful situation, who's calm, who's a leader, a voice in the locker room, somebody who's coached high school football at least. But also, we have the Buccaneers. Their new coach, Bruce Arians. Kind of general consensus seems to be everybody loves it, as do I. What is your take on the Bruce Arians hire?
I'm 50-50. I think everyone's given the hire too much credit. I really do. He is an older coach. So, he's had health problems. He's retired. And I think, to me, Tampa Bay is like a reboot. So to kind of go that old school, I don't know if that works for them. That's just my 2 cents. And another thing, he was always this good offensive coordinator or quarterbacks coach around great quarterbacks like Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, Ben Roethlisberger, the list goes on and on. But he was never really the man until really late in his career to Arizona. And they had some good seasons, but it's not like they blew people away and was a 5-year playoff run. I just thought he was up and down. I'm just not as high. Tampa's a total reboot. 4th place. They're not good. They have a lot of holes. Jameis Winston is still maybe their franchise quarterback. They don't know. I don't think Coach Arians know. I don't think Jameis Winston knows if he's the franchise quarterback for Tampa. So to be honest, I'm not as high as everyone else.
I hear your point, and I would say this. I think with the Buccaneers, obviously, has a history of struggling, maybe not the greatest stable franchise. I think stability is the key. I don't expect them to win a Super Bowl right away with Bruce Arians, but I think stability is probably one of the most important things for them right now. Like you said, with Winston and all the chaos, all the turmoil and drama, you just kind of want stability. Somebody to just be the voice in the locker room, been there, done that, has proven success with successful quarterbacks. Do you see that point, that maybe it's just from the stability standpoint, and then you build from there with your coordinators?
Yeah, I do, but then I guess this is where I don't love the point, and I wish nothing bad on anyone, anything like that. But he's just an older coach who's had medical issues in the past, and it felt like he kind of had to leave Arizona because of medical issues, because he wasn't stable enough to coach in, week out. It was a stressful job. So that's when they were kind of winning. Imagine you go 3-13 with Jameis Winston, who puts a lot of stress on coaches because he's a knucklehead outside the field. I'm sticking with my guns. I don't like the hire.
I could be wrong on this, but did I hear this correctly also? Didn't they give him a physical in the job interview?
I know, imagine that. It's like, hey, guys, I want to work for Target. Okay, well, piss in a cup, and I want to see if you can breathe and run a marathon. Like, that doesn't happen. That's just crazy to me. It really is.
Kind of supports your point there with the health. But, of course, we wish nothing bad upon anybody. It's just kind of to your point. But then just very quickly, the Cardinals, new coach Kliff Kingsbury. And then the Jets is what's really interesting to me. We're both Sam Darnold guys, obviously New York, major market, compete with the Giants. Your Knicks also. But Mike McCarthy, according to reports, has made it known he only wants to coach for the Jets next season. My 2 cents would be it's a great fit for him and the Jets, because the Jets may not have the best roster, but having Sam Darnold and having a coach who's dealt with Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, having somebody who is experienced with the quarterback position, and like we've been saying with the Browns, hiring Mike McCarthy would have been awesome because he's a leader, he's a strong leader, he's very vocal, and he doesn't get bullied around, he's stable. Do you like Mike McCarthy to the Jets as much as I do?
Oh, absolutely love it. I think I like it more than you do. To me, the Green Bay Packers for the last 5 years had a mediocre to bad roster with a top 5-7 quarterback. That's the New York Jets in the next 2, 3, 4 years. Sam Darnold will develop into a top 7, top 5 quarterback. I'm that high on him. The franchise, the rest of the roster is not great. But the underrated part about it is they have tons and tons of money. So if they want to say, hey, Le'Veon Bell, we want the best running back to go with Darnold, Zeke to help out Dak. How about Todd Gurley to help out Jared Goff? We want that number 3 running back in the world to help out Darnold. Boom, they get him. Okay, another guy, Antonio Brown's out there. Maybe you give him your 2nd-round pick this year and a 1st-round pick next year, and you pay Antonio Brown money. So just like that, one off season, the Jets could go from you have Sam Darnold, Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell with a Super Bowl coach, McCarthy. I don't like this move. I love this move, and I want this move to happen.
I think it will happen. I really do. I think that's locked. That may be my locked in for the episode is Mike McCarthy becomes the New York Jets head coach.
Ooh, okay. Spoiler alert for the end of the episode. I love it.
But, all right, down to business, the nitty-gritty where we get locked in. I was 3 for 4 last time, Dave. If it wasn't for the Bears kicker who, hats off to him, it's a blocked kick, not a missed field goal. But if it wasn't for that field goal, I would have been 4 for 4. Heading into this matchup now, we have great games. We have the Chargers at Foxborough with the Patriots, the Cowboys at the Rams, Colts at the Chiefs, and the Eagles at the Saints. Do you want to start it off with your Chargers versus the Pats, or do you want me to take the floor?
Take the floor. You know the Chargers were my dark horse Super Bowl pick before the season, so you might know where I'm going with it, but you take the floor first.
Okay, yeah, you were right on. You were locked in. You said the Chargers and the Saints. I had the Chargers beating the Ravens, even though it got pretty close. Felt comfortable. The Chargers won. I have the Pats defeating the Chargers, and it's at Foxborough, off a bye, especially for, like, it can hurt younger players, but it certainly can benefit the veterans, like a Tom Brady and even a Belichick, just having that time to just, he never really relaxes, but the time to breathe and focus on your next objective instead of just bam, 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 game. So that being said, like at Foxborough, Super Bowl pedigree with the Pats, the mindset. They may not have the roster of past Patriot teams. Gronk isn't the same Gronk. Not arguing with you there. But what I will say is Tom Brady, who still is probably, he's not in his prime. He's still a Super Bowl level quarterback with the best coach in the game in Bill Belichick, with the history of winning in the playoffs at Foxborough off a bye. I'm taking the Pats over your Chargers.
Okay. Max, is Coach Bill Belichick still the coach for the Patriots?
I hope so. I just went on a rant, so I pray to God he is.
Is Tom Brady still the quarterback for the Patriots?
He will be for the next 20 years.
I got the Chargers.
I knew it.
I've said it all season long. I'm not going off the train. I'm not moving a step back. The Chargers are my dark horse team, and they still are. I like this spot. I really do. I like the underdog, chip on the shoulder, attitude. Let's go, Phillip Rivers, talk trash. I think they're going to be Baltimore has a great defense. And they moved the ball across the field pretty well. They settled for a lot of field goals. I think New England, to me, doesn't have the caliber of the defense that Baltimore have. So I think the Chargers will move the ball even more, and I think they'll get in the end zone. I think last week was one of those weeks. That's when you knock off a team when they settle for field goals instead of touchdowns, and they didn't. They survived the game on the road. They've been a great road team, Max. That stat, someone said it 1,000 times. They haven't lost a game outside the state of California.
Yep.
They continue it. The Patriots at home, the dynasty on the bye, Gronk, Brady, Belichick. I'm over it. Chargers win. They continue the success. They continue the momentum. AFC Championship bound.
And it's crazy. Even though the Pats are the favorite, and understandably so because they're at home, the Chargers have a much better roster. Like I wouldn't argue that. The Chargers, I think it was like Nick Wright that put it out there. Tom Brady's the best player in the game, and then it's like the Chargers, like the next five instantly. Like the Chargers have the better overall roster, but I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here. I just have more faith in Belichick and Brady. But okay, let's move on. This is the hardest game for me, so I'll have you go first then. The Cowboys at the Rams. Even though it's a road game for the Cowboys, they probably have the crowd. So who do you have winning this game?
This was the toughest one for me, too.
Yeah.
It really was. I went back and forth. I loved how Dallas played last week. That's how they need to play. Zeke, a lot of touches. Dak, just kind of play in the pocket. And then that one big run towards the end, boom, bust the game open. Like he can move. He can be mobile, but you don't want him to run a lot. That's just my 2 cents. You don't want him to get banged up. You want him in the pocket, making short, nice passes to Amari Cooper. The defense is stacked for Dallas. They're going to give the Rams some great looks. I'm excited. But the more and more I thought about it, I sat back. I'm like, guys, for the first 2 months of the season, the Rams are the absolute best team in the league. They have the best offensive weapons, the names galore. They have big names on defense. And I think, and I know they kind of had a B- second half of the season. I just think they knew when they were 8-0 or 7-0, hey, we got to, it's all about the playoffs now. We did not win a playoff game last year. They got upset in the first round to Atlanta. I think they know they're here for this playoff game. This means more. I think Dallas won. They won the playoff game. It's off the monkeys off their back. Dak's going to get paid. Dallas with a successful season. So I think this game means more for the Rams and Coach Sean McVay. I got the Rams winning. I think it's a good game, but I have the Rams winning this football game.
I couldn't agree more. Kind of what you said. Yeah, there's more pressure on the Rams, but off the short playoff run they had last year, this means more to them. And kind of like what we do every time. It's like when you go down the list out of a football team, kind of like what's the most important? Okay, the quarterback. You need to have a head coach. You need to have a good running back. You need to have a good O-line. You got to have a good pass rusher. The Cowboys have a good roster, but I kind of did it with the Rams. And obviously you can go back and forth. Zeke's probably the better running back, and that's even debatable. But I have more faith in Jared Goff than I do Dak, even though Dak does live up to these big games. And Goff was kind of in a little bit of a slump. But I also like McVay over Jason Garrett. And I know he's almost overrated in a way just because everybody's trying to copycat him with hiring offensive-minded coaches who are young. But I really like Sean McVay, and I like him better than I like Jason Garrett. So with the coaching and the quarterback, and I'm not even going to take the home field advantage, Dave, because the Cowboys have a lot of fans anywhere they go, especially in Los Angeles. Just off that alone, and like what you said, it just means more to them. I'm going with the Rams as well.
Wow, sounds good. So we are one together, one dispute.
Okay, and now we have the Colts versus the Chiefs, and I guess I'll take this one then if we're alternating. I predicted the Colts to win last game. I love Andrew Luck. I love the tear that the Colts have been on. People say they're the dynasty of the future, and that looks like it will be with $100 million in cap, with the 9 draft picks. But with Patrick Mahomes and the MVP, it's kind of the same thing as the Rams. There's a lot of pressure on them, especially off the history of the Chiefs' playoffs. Not the best. But with this new era, with Patrick Mahomes, the MVP, I think he's aware of that. I really do. And I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I think they put enough points on the board to win this game. It may be a shootout. It may be a great game, but I'm going with the Chiefs over the Colts.
Wow. Okay. You're going with skill. I'm going with luck. I'm going with the Colts, the hottest team in football. The Chiefs are the 1 seed. They've been the best team all year long. They have peaked, Max. They have hit the best they've played all year a month ago, 6 weeks ago. The Colts are playing the best football right now in the National Football League. I'm going with the mojo, the momentum. I'm going with it. Andrew Luck, the defense, T.Y. Hilton. I think the Colts are going to put up points, and I think the pressure is on KC. If they're down 7-0, oh crap, what are we going to do, guys? If we're down 14-3, oh crap, what are we going to do? If they get down at all in this game, I just think the Chiefs and Coach Andy Reid are going to buckle. I don't know. I just have a gut feeling. I'm going with the hottest team in the NFL. I'm going with the Colts. I'm going with 2 upsets in the AFC. Chargers to beat the Patriots, the Colts to beat the Chiefs. I'm going with this Super Bowl AFC matchup of Rivers and Luck. Am I going to be locked out, Max? Am I crazy?
No, you're not crazy. The Colts could definitely win this game. I love Andrew Luck. So with when you get to teams with such elite quarterbacks, I don't think, okay, of course there's a team that will always have the advantage, always be a slight favorite, always maybe have the better roster. But when you have elite quarterbacks, they have the potential to come back in games. They have the potential to build leads in games. So you're never crazy if you bet on Andrew Luck, especially on the hot streak that they're on right now. So you're not crazy at all. You're not locked out. But if the Chiefs win, I was locked in. Is that fair enough to say?
Oh, that's absolutely fair enough to say. Because if the Colts win, I will talk about it for the next 55 straight hours.
Exactly. Okay, so the floor is yours. Eagles at the Saints. And the last time they played, the Saints won 48-7. So I'm pretty sure the Eagles have that in their mind, in the back of their head as well.
Yeah, I thought about that too. I was really scared. I know Philly lost. They have a lot of revenge factor. They don't really lose a lot with Nick Foles at quarterback, and especially in the postseason. So with all that being said, I'm going with the Saints, Max. I went with the Saints Chargers before the year. I'm still sticking with it. The Saints, to me, are the best team in the National Football League. They're at home. No one's going into that dome in New Orleans and going to beat them. I have Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, and Michael Thomas. I have the Saints getting the W.
I do as well. I know, and I put this on Instagram. It's like, even if Nick Foles wins, I still don't put him over Carson Wentz. And that's just me. I don't think you're crazy if you say Nick Foles just because he's won a Super Bowl, his playoff success. But I do want your take on that whole Nick Foles situation. So let's just say hypothetically we're both wrong because I'm going with the Saints as well, and Nick Foles wins. Are you in agreement with me, or are you more Team Foles?
Um, wow, what a great question. The more and more I thought about it, I don't want to go 100% one way or another. I just want to play devil's advocate on the other side and saying, Max, Carson Wentz is better. He's a better player, stronger. He's faster. Everything. You make a football player in Madden, you make Carson Wentz. You don't make Nick Foles. But with that being said, the Eagles play better with Nick Foles. Nick Foles stays healthy. Carson Wentz got injured his last year in college, his rookie year at the end, and now this season. So there's something there about Nick Foles being a little injury prone. And sometimes, you know this more than anyone, it's not about talent. It's, Russell Westbrook is maybe more talented than Steph Curry. More athletic, faster, stronger, all that. But Steph Curry is more technique. He's better with the team. He's a better passer. I'm not trying to go that high end with that, analogy, but I'm hoping I'm making the point of, guys, the Eagles play great with Nick Foles. Like, is it that crazy to say, hey, you can trade Carson Wentz to any of those top 10 worst teams in the league, get their two best players off of that team and a number one draft pick, and Philadelphia could just really boost up their roster right away. So I'm just going to play devil's advocate. I'm not giving up on Foles, but if he gets smashed out of this game, like I think he will, probably this conversation ends. But if he wins and keeps on winning, it's like, how do you say no, right?
Yeah, that's why I said I understand the Foles situation. I'm not saying you're crazy for thinking that, because like I said, with the Super Bowl, with the playoff success, the way he clicks with this roster, he's a very humble guy, very down to earth, wanted to be a pastor. Like, I don't blame anybody for saying that. I'm just more of I know Wentz is the better player. I'm going to stick with Wentz because he's young, and I don't know. That's just me. I think you've sold your franchise on him. He's your first round pick. He's obviously, like you said, the better player. And I just think maybe it just needs more time to click, just stay healthy. And these are all big ifs. If you stay healthy, if this, I'm just willing to make that gamble. But like I said, I do get both sides. That being said, last time, it looks like all the road teams are having success. This time I'm going with all the home teams. I don't know if I just jinxed myself or I'm starting a new trend.
Well, these teams, all four home teams, Max, are teams, that had buys. They're all healthy. They're the best teams for a reason. These are been the best teams all year. Patriots and Chiefs, Rams and the Saints. These are great teams with quarterbacks. You could argue the four best playing quarterbacks all season long too. Really good coaches. They all probably should win, and all four of them are favorites and pretty decent point favorites, especially for the playoffs. But, I'm going off on the limb, especially in the AFC. I got the Colts and Chargers, but the NFC, I play pretty close to the vest. I do have the Rams and the Saints as well.
Nice. Great NFL talk, Dave. I do want to hit you with my theory here.
Okay, I'm theorying up. I'm listening.
Put your hands up because I'm coming in swinging. I put it on Instagram. I spoke to Rashad about it at a Magic game, and I just been thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it and watching these games and watching these stat lines. So Zion Williamson put up like a 30, 10, and 5 game, and like only one player has ever done that because he shot 80% from the field. You saw his 360 dunk. So I'm watching all this Duke basketball. And we've talked about this off air, usually out of the draft, except if it's an exceptional draft, if it's one of the best drafts of all time, the first or second pick normally underachieves because I don't like using the word bust. So I'm going to say underachieves. You have the Ben Simmons draft where Brandon Ingram didn't really underachieve. He's a good, solid NBA player. To some he may have, but to people like us, I don't think he's really underachieved yet. I mean, we expected him more this season, but it is leaning towards the underachieving. But my point being is there's a couple outliers. But for the most part, in NBA history, either the 1 or 2 pick underachieves. So that being said, the 2 top prospects, in my opinion, is Zion Williamson and R.J. Barret, both from Duke. So let's just say and assume, because they most likely will, they enter the NBA draft, they're the first and second pick. I think Zion Williamson is the player who has the most transferable skills to the NBA. He's 285, broke the vertical record at Duke. He was 3 of 4 from the three-point line, so he's working on his jump shot. It's not like Ben Simmons, who has never taken an NBA three before. So Zion's at least shooting and making them. I think he's the type of player to impact the team right away. I think he's an all-star. I'm not saying he's the next LeBron James. I'm not. But he's certainly an all-star. He's a game changer. He's a first-round pick. And I like RJ. But I think RJ, if out of the two, because I'm not labeling him as a bust per se, but out of the two, he would be my favorite to underachieve because I don't think his skills are as transferable. And I know everyone loves both of them and everyone loves RJ Barrett. I'm not trying to necessarily get ahead of the curve. I'm just going off the history. Do you agree with me on that?
Oh, well, definitely. Definitely. This whole month, 2 months of Duke basketball has been great to watch. I love Zion Williamson. Love him. Knicks fan, and that's who I want to get. I love the theory, the first and second. It's a real thing. And I kind of have two things to go back to you on, and let's see if you agree, disagree on it. One, I might be the only man in America. I think I like Cam Reddish more in the NBA.
Me too. Me too.
Okay. So there's two of us. I just like his game. I like his 3-point shooting ability. I like how he's a little bit bigger, a little bit got more height on him. And lastly, the RJ Barrett, the negative thing, and I know this is when you put something on, he's Canadian. Like, what? What does that have to do with anything? There hasn't been a ton of strong NBA players from Canada. So it's your Freddie Kitchens. When the thing is 0-10, it's hard to go all in on number 11. Players from Canada, Jamal McGlure, 15 years ago, made an all-star team. Andrew Wiggins, the first overall pick, he's from Canada. He's kind of been, let's just call it out, a little bit of a sour first pick. Everyone thought he was going to change the game, change the league, change Minnesota.
Right.
They haven't. Steve Nash is from Canada. He's been the best. He's a Hall of Famer, 2-time NBA MVP, but great system. D'Antoni, a little gimmicky. It took him 6-7 years to really turn his turn his career around. But there hasn't been 6'7" athletic takeover guy, wing player from Canada. So before it happens, I'm not going all in with RJ Barrett. Is that crazy for me to say?
No, not at all, because that's what I'm saying. I don't think and it's a good point with the Canada, the good Canada comparison because of that, the history. Like, I'm not trying to tell the future. I'm just observing my past or the past of the game. And that's what you're doing with the Canada analogy. And it's just, like I said, he may be a good NBA player, but if I were to bet my money, it's Zion who overachieves, and it's, well, based on who you ask, because some people think he's going to be the next greatest player alive, but just based on what we think, he's going to do great, and then I think RJ may underachieve a little bit, and I'm right with you. Cam Reddish has more of an NBA body to me, and I think in the right situation, he really will flourish in the NBA.
Yeah, I really do. But I do. Zion is a franchise player. Whatever team gets him, whatever team is lucky enough to win the lottery, the only team that can mess him up is probably Cleveland. But even LeBron won in Cleveland, so I think Zion would still be really good there. But any of those teams, there's the Knicks. I don't want to get too much into this tunnel. But if the Phoenix Suns are lucky enough to get him, they have one of the worst records in the league. They've been drafting players. That could be finally the turnaround. The turn in the corner of Booker's your wing shooter. Zion Williamson is the best player on the team, slasher, dunker, athletic wing. And then DeAndre Ayton down low, who's been really good this season, rebounding, blocking shots, super athletic too, scoring the ball, get him 18, 22 points a game. Phoenix could be one of those Golden States waiting to happen. So just watch out for that.
I agree. And front office is a huge part of this. Like you said, it's where you get drafted from. And there's very few tremendous players. That's what separates the good and the great. A good player is in a good system and has good stats. A great player can go to a bad system and still win, like a LeBron James. So with the majority of people, it depends on where you go, what front office you get. With the great player that we think Zion is, like, I'm not impressed with the Suns front office. But with Zion, I think he could do enough to make that team special.
Yeah, I really do. It's you get a good leader, a good veteran head coach. And you give Devin Booker a nice contract, you keep him there, and you just get good role players like who they had, Trevor Ariza. You just get good guys like that and just let those 3 young players blossom. That could be a game changer. But, I think Zion Williamson will be an absolute beast. I can't wait for Cam Reddish in the league. And I don't think RJ Barrett's a complete bust. But for him to be picked 1, 2, or 3, I just think I have him as a good NBA player. A C to a C plus. Trying to give you an analogy right off the top of my head. I'm kind of washy right now. One I had, it was a Lou Williams type, just a good score off the bench. But, you never know. So I can't wait to see the draft and see where he lands.
And imagine this, like I said, I'm not trying to go too far in the tunnel here, but let's just say for some reason Zion falls to the 2nd pick. I think it would be like the Hawks at this point, or it's the Hawks, Knicks are in there. But imagine him and Trae Young, like Trae Young, who Rashad Phillips has been so high on since the very beginning, is such a dynamic duo together. You have the point guard who is almost like a replica of Steph Curry, and then you have the Zion who's the slasher. They would just complement each other so well because one's a slasher and one stretches the floor. So there's so many interesting ways it can go. But yeah, we're on the same page as far as that. But Dave, you brought up an interesting point last time we recorded for FightBananas.com for Locked In with 2 N's. Somebody said, it's available on iHeartRadio. So that being said, where can people find this podcast and what platforms are those platforms?
All right, Cuzzo, I thought you would never ask. iHeartRadio, it's a great app. I listen to it all the time. If you're going to the gym, you just hit gym music on, boom, it plays. But of course, if you want to listen to the best damn podcast in the world, you go to Locked In with 2 N's, Locked In, boom. You can listen to us all the time. We have over 150 episodes back in the library. You can go hit any one. You can see what we thought about the NFL season before it started, NBA free agency, what we thought about the NBA going in last season, all the interviews we've had with coaches, players, Rashad Phillips. We've had fighters on. Go to fightbananas.com. That's just one app, guys. Spotify. Everyone knows who Spotify is. If you got the best damn phone in the world, I'm talking about the Apple iPhones. You got Apple Podcasts. It's that beautiful purple button. It's got headphones on it. Push it. I know you're listening to Joe Rogan. I know you're listening to First Take. But now listen to the Locked In podcast and stay locked in. Yep.
Bravo.
I want to thank everyone who started with us from the very beginning. Thank you so much.
Bravo. Do you have a Locked In? Any last words, Dave?
No, I do have a Locked In. It's something about the NBA All-Star. You and I went back and forth about a couple players. Chris Middleton was one of those guys. I remember early in the season I said Tim Hardaway Jr. was one of these guys I thought be on the All-Star team. But right now, I'm furious. I'm just locked in